welcome to this edition of Northern California Journal. I'm your host, Raleigh Adams. On this edition, a look at the newest weapon in the arsenal in the fight against crime in Sacramento County. For many months, McClellan Air Force Base, in cooperation with the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department, has been retrofitting a former RT Metro bus with the latest in communications and electronics. This sophisticated unit will be able to serve as a mobile command post, enhancing interagency coordination and communications. Join us now for the dedication ceremony of Mobile Command 1. Presenting local dignitaries is Lieutenant Colonel Harl Sanderson, Chief of Communications and Electronics Maintenance Division at McClellan Air Force Base.
Today's event closes on a high note, the chapter on a very successful electronics, fabrication, and manufacturing effort by the United States Air Force and Air Force Materiel Command at McClellan Air Force Base. The command and control vehicle being dedicated today and turned over to the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department is the product of a keen partnership between Sacramento County and Department of Defense employees. That old saying, necessity is the mother of invention, is so true and is the basic reason for the manufacturing of this important capability. Yankee ingenuity, the talents of our experienced craftsmen, and a clear vision by the Sacramento law enforcement community are all the main ingredients for today's ceremony. It is now my pleasure to invite to the podium the Vice Commander, Sacramento Air Logistics Center, Brigadier General Bob Summers.
Thanks. Good morning. What a great day. I just came from a retirement ceremony for an Air Force colonel who's done wonderful things for us, and she reminded me of a lot of things. There's prepared remarks here which I don't tend to use, okay? But she reminded me of a lot of things. And when I look out and I see the Sheriff's Department here, Sheriff Blanos, Captain Kraft, and fellow peace officers, I'll call you, because that's what we're all about. It reminds me of the core values of the Air Force. Integrity first, service before self, excellence in all that we do. And then I look over at this vehicle and I say, wow, you have found the people to put it together for you. And if you're not happy with it, I'm telling you, come back and we'll fix it. Okay? But I am really proud because I think you're going to be very happy with it. I'm really proud of it. We're both in the business of defending and protecting what goes on in this county and what goes on in this world in the United States. We and you have a lot of common things going on. We all have to make decisions instantly in a lot of cases that either save or protect lives and property. And hopefully this command center is going to help you do that better. And a lot of these instant decisions, as you walk down that chain of events, if they're not made properly with the right amount of information, you make the wrong decision and it doesn't work. If you have the right information, and hopefully that's what this is going to get you and put you in position to do that, you make the right decisions.
This Mobile Command 1 will be an integral part of our emergency response system that the Sheriff has tasked us with over the last several years. To bring into a more responsive and a better ability to respond to emergencies. In the past years, commanders have been forced to work off the trunk lids of their cars. I'm probably going to miss that. At 2 o'clock in the morning when it's raining and you're trying to juggle a map and hold a flashlight and talk into 3 radios. I think this will facilitate doing it a little bit better. The command post bus will serve as a nerve center. It will be used as a centralized coordination for communications by all the diverse agencies that respond to a major event. The California Highway Patrol, we've had National Guard, we've had an extensive amount of other agencies respond on large tacticals, and this will be the Unified Command Center. The Sheriff's Department is extremely grateful to the Regional Transit Authority and the United States Air Force for their commitment and dedication to the Sacramento Sheriff's Department and the community that we serve. Without their support and patience, the command post would never have become a reality. This is going to bring us light years ahead to respond to the changing environments that we have to respond to. We have a lot of new threats coming to the United States: terrorism, weapons of mass destruction. We saw what happened back in Oklahoma City. The sheriff is preparing for any eventuality. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Kraft. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Sheriff Blanos.
Thank you very much, General Summers. Thank you. And, you know, if you can believe, this was an RT bus about 18 months ago working in the city and county of Sacramento, and now it's been converted to, you know, just a outstanding mobile command van. And, you know, I got to give a lot of credit, all the credit to the civilians and the Air Force personnel that worked on this. I haven't seen the inside yet. I refused to look at it until it was done, because I'm kind of one of those anxious people that say, first time I look at it, I want it done tomorrow. But I have to commend each and every one of you that worked on this project on behalf of the men and women of the Sacramento Sheriff's Department. We're very proud of it, as you should be. It is a great vehicle to support the sheriff's staff and also support the Sacramento community. Sadly to say, in today's environment, we have to have mobile command vans, SWAT teams, and you name it, to keep society sane. And the Sacramento Sheriff's Department works very hard and does an outstanding job to make Sacramento community the safest community in the state. And this is just one more tool that we can use to help us accomplish that goal. You know, it's kind of ironic how this whole thing came about. There's a gentleman in the crowd here named Cam Beach, who's Chief of Operations for Regional Transit, and Cam was very instrumental in developing the Regional Transit Police within the city and county of Sacramento, and that's made up of Sacramento Sheriff deputies and city police officers, and basically it's their police force. And during our meetings, somehow we got into discussion about getting a RT or a retired RT bus and converting it to a command van, as you see here. Well, not only did Cam give us a retired RT bus, but is anybody from RT higher than you here, Cam? Cam made sure that we got a brand new engine and transmission in this one when we took it over. Yeah, with very low miles and still under warranty, by the way. But really did us a great favor, and we had it and wanted to know what to do with it. And Bill Roberts, my assistant sheriff, had a friend out here named Ron Shoemaker, who's since retired, who told us about what McClellan Air Force Base, the civilians in the Air Force, could do for us out here. And here it is. And believe me, speaking on behalf of everyone here in uniform and civilian clothes from the Sacramento Sheriff's Department, we're very proud to have this presented to us and be part of our fleet in Sacramento, in the Sacramento Sheriff's Department. In general, I can't say, you know, thank you very much for all your help, and all the civilians that worked on this and the Air Force personnel. I just can just say thank you on behalf of the men and women of the Sheriff's Department.
Okay, this is the key. And we put a big tag on it so you can't lose it. But it says, Mobile Command 1, Sacramento County Sheriff's Department, dedicated October 27th, 1999, McClellan Air Force Base, presented to Sheriff Lou Blanos.
Present this to me.
Captain, yes.
Oh, okay. We have a couple of presentations for you, General. If you could stand up, come on over here, please. First of all, we have our sesquicentennial patch for our 150-year anniversary. We'd like to present to you as a memento.
Thank you.
And also a brass plaque that will be mounted in the Mobile Command 1, a cooperative venture between the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department, Sacramento Regional Transit, and the Sacramento Air Logistics Center, United States Air Force, dedicated October 27, 1999. This will be displayed proudly within the Mobile Command 1. And again, thank you. And would you please join me to open the door?
I hope the key works.
I hope the key works, so we're in good shape. Anyway, thank you. This mobile command center is going to be a tremendous asset to the Sacramento Sheriff's Department. In the past, we've had to operate off the hood of a car. This bus is probably one of the most modernistic vehicles we have. And what I mean by that is we have a microwave system in it, we have a satellite system in it, we have televisions, fax machines, radio systems, and this bus is going to be a great support vehicle to our officers on the street who are out there risking their lives every day. It's also going to be a great support vehicle to the Sacramento community with relationship to any disaster that may occur in the Sacramento community. We will be able to have this mobile command center on site to operate our command center out of and hopefully help save life and property.
At today's ceremony, we made a lot of comments at the podium about the technical specifications of this bus, but you know, the real truth of it and the real hard work that came out of it from the sweat of the craftsman brow was digging into the actual bowels of this vehicle and putting in raceways and determining the right size cable, because this isn't just as easy as stretching a extension cord. We had to put an 8-aught type cable in there to accommodate 200 amp, which is bigger than most houses you could weld out of this unit. And it has the room for growth too, is the beauty of this system. It wasn't something that was just developed for 1999, but is something that will serve the department well into the 21st century. And of course, through all of this, as our craftsmen are digging through this and the members of the Sheriff's Department are refining their requirements and adjusting those as we go, we saw a tremendous amount of cooperation between the two municipalities, if you will, between the federal government and the county government here to make this happen.
Although it's been said before, we salute the men and women of the Shelter Repair Division of McClellan Air Force Base for meeting a tremendous challenge, and it's a job well done.
This is a real exciting day for the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. The introduction of this new command van to facilitate all of the work that our officers have to do when they're involved in a critical situation in the community. But it doesn't just start here. It started a long time ago when two people in our department were talking about the possibilities of a command van and the partnership that we had with Regional Transit in donating a bus that they had. Another partnership with McClellan Air Force Base in having all of the technology and the ability to put this van together out here. The partnerships that we've had with private enterprise to outfit with the microwave systems, with the digital phones, with the televisions, all of the wiring. Everything that has been put together has really been a cooperative effort with the community. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Department is more involved than ever in partnerships with the community and the different things that we do. What it means to us is that when we roll into a neighborhood where there is a critical incident occurring, we're going to be able to handle the situation much faster. We're going to be able to be much more organized. We're going to be able to allow a faster safety factor for the citizens in the community and also a safety factor for our officers involved. We will be responding to any situation, given it a barricaded subject, given it floods if we have them, to any major disaster that might occur. When you see this command van rolling and being put into place, you'll know that it's your Sheriff's Department at work, along with the community and a lot of volunteers, to make this a safer place to live.
You chose to follow others around the crossing gate. This is the next 60 seconds of your life.
Let's go. Come on, let's go. There's no train. Let's go.
I'm going.
No. America's roads can be highways or dieways. The choice is yours.
As residents in a growing metropolitan community, we all realize how important it is to be prepared for any emergency situation, whether man-made or natural. And Sacramento County is leading the way in preparedness with the latest in high-tech response equipment and training for personnel. Recently, the American River Fire Department and allied agencies, including the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department, spent valuable time training for what unfortunately is a reality of our modern society. Larry Alver with American River Fire District tells us about today's exercise.
Well, today we're kind of taking a lot of fire agencies and police agencies and putting them together to work on a common drill or a common problem. The problem happens to be that we've got an escape of chlorine gas with a lot of injuries, so you got to deal with the glass as well as the injuries, and then we also incorporated in that as a couple of bombs too. So it's bringing a lot of different things that normally we may respond to singly. We're having them all together, and it's making it a little more complicated, but this is kind of somewhat maybe the possible things that could happen in the future.
Well, you know, Larry, it's really interesting that we look in the newspaper and we see these articles in there about Y2K. There are some extremist groups out there, at least that's what the FBI says in a recent newspaper article, that are really prepared to do violence to our communities. That's part of their agenda, is terrorist acts, and this is a really scary thing you haven't had to deal with in the past.
No, we've always been able to work in an emergency environment thinking that the people that were causes weren't trying to hurt us too. Well, now you have to think in terms of they want to hurt us as emergency responders. So we're having to train our minds and our personnel to start thinking beyond just focusing on that individual who needs our assistance, but to start looking around at things that are on the ground around us, or what are the mechanisms why this person got hurt, and start kind of analyzing that a little bit better so that we don't get in a situation where we actually end up becoming part of that problem.
Well, you know, in this scenario, you have some victims that are up here, really up there in the air quite a ways on this tower. And the only way you can reach those because of debris down at the bottom of the tower is through this ladder truck. It's real interesting when you look at this truck. It's real high-tech. It's come a long way since, 1920s, and before that when they had horse-drawn fire wagons. Tell us a little bit about some of the high-tech industry, how that's affecting the fire service, and how you do business in the community.
Well, it's costing us more money, but beyond that, what it's doing is providing us a lot safer environment or safer equipment to work with. In the past, you probably would have saw firefighters walking into a burning building without any protection for their breathing. Now we have breathing apparatus, and more likely you wouldn't see a firefighter even on a car fire without a breathing apparatus. This equipment's enabling us to do things high elevation to a certain extent, but also allows us to do stuff low elevation where you may have, Japan had a situation where they had people trapped inside of a subway. Equipment like this is going to help us to be able to get to those people.
You know, that's interesting. You bring up Japan and the sarin gas problem. That was a terrible incident, but it's just typical of what terrorists do, and they follow their own agendas. We don't know what they're going to do, so we have to pretty much prepare for everything. In this scenario, you have a bomb, you have a leak of chlorine gas, you've got victims all over the grounds here. What would happen in an event like this if there were multiple events? Where does the resources come from, the manpower come from?
Well, it's going to come from a long ways away. Right now, in this particular drill, in this event right now, we're probably looking at somewhere between 20 and 25 fire engines, and I don't know how many police people. I mean, if we had multiple incidences like this in the same area simultaneously, I don't know that we would have the resources to deal with it immediately. Certainly over time we'd be able to draw resources in from outlying areas, but that takes time. So hopefully that never happens.
Well, you know, it's interesting today. You mentioned multi-agency cooperation and use of different types of equipment. We have the Sheriff's Mobile Command Center, Command 1 out here. I think it's really great that they're here. They're working along with fire. I think this is typical of multi-agency work, and it just shows how far we've come.
Yeah, in the past you probably wouldn't have seen us even talking to each other, and if we got out on an emergency scene like this, they would operate separately from us and we'd never communicate back and forth. Now we're setting up this unified command system where we have people from the Sheriff's Department along with our incident commander, and they're face-to-face talking about how they can use their resources to alleviate the problem.
Well, I think this is really great, and it also brings up the issue of ongoing training, advanced officer training, all types of training that you have to go through on a regular basis that's going to make you a better firefighter and able to save more lives. Tell us about the ongoing training, and is this something you're going to be stepping up through the year?
Well, we try to do something like this on an annual basis. Sometimes it may be high-rise drills. Maybe it's a massive casualty incident out at the airport with an airplane crash. But we try to do it at least on an annual basis so that we never lose that ability to work with each other. And each time you have a drill like this, there's always certain things that will come up that you'll find that you need to improve upon. Certainly a drill like this is going to show that we need to have better communication skills, because that's always a problem when you get an event this large.
Well, you know, we've been talking about events like a terrorist act. We need to talk a little bit more about what happens right at home. Smoke detectors, if people just knew how important those were and how many lives could be saved by the use of a smoke detector, I don't think there'd be anybody without one.
I don't think so either. Probably the best person you could ever talk to would be the homeowner or the family that had a fire and they didn't have a smoke detector and they lost somebody as a result of that. That smoke detector is so inexpensive. I mean, $6 to $12 for a smoke detector, and it means the difference between life or death for your entire family. I don't think you'd find anybody, but the problem that we're experiencing now is we've got an awful lot of people out there that have put a smoke detector in and then they forgot about it and they haven't maintained it. And now what they're having to think about is they need to replace the batteries annually, but now after a period of time, since we've had them in homes for so long, they need to start thinking about replacing the smoke detector and putting in a newer one.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I guess the homes are hardwired in. They have 110 that goes to them. So really, people don't need to check those, but they do need to test them, right?
Oh, absolutely. And probably what they're going to end up having to do is replace them even after 5 to 10 years, because the sensitivity of those is probably going to wear out, and they need to replace it. And if they don't test them, they'll never know if it's working or not. So I think a lot of people have become real complacent with the idea, I've got a smoke detector, I really feel safe. Well, in essence, they forgot about the battery or they haven't tested it, and the darn thing doesn't work at all now.
Well, you know, I think people want information. Sometimes they don't know how to get information, where to call, who to ask, what to ask for. And I think with Y2K coming up, even the Red Cross has come out recently and say you have to be prepared. Treat Y2K like you would any other disaster, man-made or natural, and just prepare for it so that you're ready before you have to run to the store to get water and candles and all the rest of the stuff we see people doing, especially when we see these tornadoes hitting the Carolinas. People are rushing out to the stores. Well, you know, it doesn't take a lot of common sense to know. It really helps to stock up on this stuff. How do people get a list, and where do they begin?
Well, they can either, you know, contact their local Red Cross chapter and get some information, they've got it, or they could contact their local fire department. Certainly, if any of your viewers would like some information and don't know who to go to, they can call us at area code 916-566-4000, and we'd be happy to mail materials to them on either Y2K, smoke detectors, fire safety. Any of the safety subjects we'll be able to give them information about.
And another great thing that you do in the community that I got to congratulate you for is your pluggy program, the one you go out to the schools. I think this is really tremendous, and you've been doing this a long time now.
Well, it's been about 16, 17 years, yeah. It's been a long time, but when you go to a school and when you find out that children recognize pluggy, this talking remote control fire hydrant, and they remember the stuff that he said a year prior to that, and then you talk to them when they're in college and they remember them then too, when they saw them when they were just in elementary school. It really makes you feel good to know that you probably have a lot of people out there a lot safer in the way they live their life now than if they hadn't been exposed to pluggy.
Well, I got to ask you this. After 16, 17 years of doing this, going out to schools, I happen to know that it takes a lot of effort, a lot of work, and you put in a lot of hard work on this, and really it's a labor of love. Do you feel that it's all really been worth it for you?
Oh, absolutely. You know what? If you went back and looked at our fire statistics for the last 3 or 4 years ago, we averaged about 12% fires out of the 25,000 alarms that we would run from our department. 2 years ago, that 12% dropped to 5%. Last year it was 5% again. This year I would suspect that it's probably going to be 5% again. That's a significant drop in the number of fires. And I've got to think that our educational program, our fire prevention program, and just the awareness of the general public about safety in general has made that change, made that drop in the number of fires that we have.
Well, that's great, and congratulations for a job well done.
Oh, thank you.
Hats off to you, that's for sure, for a great job. Now, again, for people who want more information, maybe they get that Y2K sheet, and they could start going through that now. After all, we got a little bit of time before Y2K, and people should be prepared on a regular basis. How do they get that? An area code and phone number?
Area code is 916, and the phone number is 566-4000. So it's area code 916-566-4000.
Once again, as Y2K approaches, be sure to prepare as you would for any disaster. The American Red Cross suggests that you stock supplies to last several days to a week for yourself and those you live with. This includes non-perishable food, stored water, and an ample supply of prescription and non-prescription medications you regularly use. Again, if you'd like an in-depth checklist, just call the American Red Cross in Sacramento. The local number is 916-368-3100. That's 916-368-3100.
Our real goal is to use microorganisms for something positive, harness them and use them to convert agricultural materials to something useful.
The key word here is microorganisms, tiny life forms like yeast or bacteria that scientists at the USDA Research Lab in Peoria, Illinois, are using to fight agricultural pests and convert crops into new and useful products. One team is studying ways of using yeast to convert plant waste into alcohol for fuel or medical use. The problem is typical yeasts cannot ferment the sugars found in plants.
So we applied our biotech tools to trying to engineer new microorganisms to do this conversion. And it's at this state where we have developed some unique organisms, and we're in the process of trying to adapt them to industrial settings so we can produce alcohol at a competitive cost.
Scientists are also using microorganisms to fight pests like the wheat disease take-all.
Our goal is to produce a microorganism that we can coat on the wheat seed before it's planted, and this bacteria that we put on the seed grows as the seed develops into a plant, and by doing that it protects the plant from this fungal disease called take-all.
A USDA team is also using the biochemical approach to fight dry rot in potatoes and whiteflies in fruits and vegetables. Dave Carter, Peoria, Illinois, for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.